can men be quality parents and caregivers? And I know the short answer is yes, but I would like to go into a little bit more detail about this. I know everybody's going to say yes, but if you don't have a yes, I'd like to hear that too. But can men be quality parents and caregivers? Whoever want to take a shot at it, go ahead.
I think that I think that we don't get enough credit for being able to do that. That's what I think right off the bat, right? Because we don't get enough credit. You know, and the court system actually shows we don't get enough credit. So I'm not gonna even. I'm just saying.
Hey, when I edit this, Antoine, you will probably get a boom.
You know, I mean, that's just a fact, right? I mean, what is it? 95 or 98% of custody battles go to the wife. I mean, you're hoping for. I mean, all you're fighting for is 50-50 custody, right? So I think listen, I believe that, you know, a woman can't raise a boy. She can raise him, nurture him, get him through school, take care of him, do all that stuff. But she cannot do the manly duties, give him the manly insights that he needs, because she ain't a man. Okay? She ain't a man. And that's why today I believe all those guys that are pussified out there, because there was no man in the household. What? There was no man in the household, so they don't know no better. Right?
So this goes back to this question again. So with what you're saying, are you saying that men couldn't raise daughters?
Nope. I believe that 100%. I mean, like I said, they can take.
So then why do we hear so much in these YouTube channels or these different spaces talking about where you need a man around the house? So if you don't need a man to raise, if a man can't raise a daughter, why does the, you know what I'm saying? Like if there's a couple, like they say, well, the man needs to be in the house for the daughter to come out okay. Okay. But then you just say that the man can't raise.
Okay, so let me dive into it deeper. I'm not saying he can't raise her, but there's certain things, qualities that a mother gives a daughter. Certain things that she knows how she should take care of certain things. Men are there as protectors. Men are there to be the backbone. Give them that backbone. Give them the stronger backbone than a mother would. All right? That's why, you know, being raised in a two-parent household is a plus. I'm not saying a man cannot raise a girl child. He can. It's just that certain things she will be lacking, okay? And certain things she'll have strength more than a girl that was raised by a mother. She will have a different mindset, right? Because she's going to be following daddy around. She's going to be picking up his mannerisms, certain things that he does. She may even like sports more because of dad, because that's all he probably going to watch. And she may even know how to fix what's underneath a car hood today. Well, yeah. Take that back. Today, you open a car hood and you're like, oh my God. But that's besides the point. I mean, yeah. You know, you ain't tinkering like the old, you know, 67 Chevy and all that sort of stuff. But I just feel that that's why it's important that a man could do it, but he needs to have that female figure there. If I, you know, God forbid, had to raise a girl child, I would definitely make sure there's female influence in her life. Definitely, I would have that. And I would look upon the friends that I do have that can give her that, you know. I think a woman needs to do that with a boy child. But if I was a woman, and you know, maybe I could say this because I'm a man, but if I was a woman and I had a boy child and I know I had good terms with the husband or the ex, he's getting the child. Because I'm telling you, if my mother was single, no way she's raising me with the way I was, right? She couldn't put me under control. The best thing my mother ever said to me is like, don't worry, wait till your father gets home. Then, whoo! 4:30 come around, okay. You know.
So Antoine, let me jump in there real quick.
Dinner, don't be there for dinner. Stay in the park for dinner. I'll let your father go and get you in the park.
Yeah. So Antoine, you definitely appreciate the presence of someone with feminine energy, a woman that can impart some of that feminine energy onto a young girl, right?
100%.
So would you say that kind of solidifies a woman's role in the wolf pack?
No.
What?
No.
So
listen, a wolf pack ain't meant to bleed once a month.
What?
It's a wolf pack.
Right.
All right? It's a wolf pack. Period. All right? Wolves don't bleed.
All right, before we digress on the whole wolf pack thing, can we go back to what you were saying? All things are true. That's true. All things are true. let's go back to what you were saying, Antoine. So I would say that everything you said was valid about the girl needing a woman's influence, learning how to be a woman, things like that. And if the man, if the father doesn't have his significant other there, then some other woman could be in the child's life. But I will say that it will definitely benefit the young lady as well as young men, for the young lady to see how men move in their space and how they move in the world and how to find the right type of man and the type of man to avoid.
Yes.
So that's something they will not necessarily get just being raised by a woman.
That's what I'm saying. Like, father would instill certain things that the woman
Yeah.
can't do, you know.
Right.
And I have good girlfriends, as they're in my friends. I would definitely say, listen, today you have to go with her.
Yeah, definitely.
That's an area that she gonna handle you. You know, that whole feminine thing.
Yes.
You know, high heels, and you know, that's you over there. I ain't getting involved in that. You know
So
what I mean?
Antoine, are you Antoine, I just want to this may help some too. You think that with this question we kind of need to split it between raising males and females, or do y'all think it's good, you know, can you clump males and females into the same? Like, I only have boys. I don't know what everybody else
It's
has.
males and females. I would say for the both. I think that and you know, not to touch on the whole you know, I just believe that it's, put it this way, I wouldn't be fighting for 50-50 custody unless she is a horrible mother. I would want my wife, my ex, whatever, would be part of my daughter or son's life. It would have to, she would have to be like a really bad mother, drugs, whatever, for me to want sole custody, because I don't want that. I wouldn't want that on my child, right?
So worst case scenario, there was a divorce, the daughter would go with your wife and you would come and visit 50-50 or whatever, and the son would stay with you.
That's right. And we would parent, it would really be a tight co-parenting. We show up for basketball game, just like if we were together, but we're not living together. Because I want to know that if you bring in someone around my daughter or my son, I'm able to vet that person, and vice versa.
Good luck with that. He ain't got no say so.
And vice versa. I don't care. I'm still gonna tell him straight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same thing I'd feel the other way around. Before I would introduce my daughter to my new love, I would say, listen, I'm seeing somebody. I would have that meeting with her, and I would have them go out for dinner. I would want that because I wouldn't want to put that on my child.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to ever argue with my significant other, ex-wife, whatever, about how to raise our child. I would want it to be a co-parenting thing. Listen, you and I didn't work out, but our child did. But you and I didn't work out, right? That's all. It's not about us anymore. It's about the child. And I don't want my child to be torn between the two and doing all that. No. You know, too many kids are raised today. You hear them talk about their daddy or their mother, and it's like, dude, like, damn, okay, you were a mistake, obviously. Like, you know, it's true.
A lot of kids are mistakes.
No, but listen, 17 forms of birth control. Find one that works, all right? Or cork it. Find one. But something's got to work, all right? So there's no excuses today. There's no excuse. There's the morning after pill. There's tons of excuses. You know, I understand you're liking the raw shit.
Let me suck them titties, baby.
I have to go back and read the question again sometimes, because like whatever rabbit hole we went down.
I was just pretty much asking.
I'm doing a 3-point turn.
Do we separate? Right? Yeah. Do we separate when we talking about this question? Are we separating males and females, or can we kind of clump them together?
So before we separate, can we add some context to this question?
Absolutely.
I think at this particular
come on, clean him up, coach.
We're just rambling right now.
Yes, absolutely.
So when we look at this question, I think one of the things we need to understand is who defines quality. That's number one. Okay. And here's what I know. In most cases, especially in early stages of life, everybody defines quality based upon their parents. So you're not really qualified to tell a man what type of parent he is or is not, because the only metric that you're measuring that against is your own parent. So with that being said, what we need to understand is that parenting is an idea or concept that evolves with maturity for both people. I agree 100% with what I've heard so far, because here is what I do know. When it comes down to raising a child, that child needs both parents. Regardless of whether or not it did not work, who cares? That child is the most important thing, because here's what that looks like. The thing that constructs this journey that we call life is a person understanding who they are. That's the journey of life. So you're spending a copious amount of time continually trying to figure out who you are, from birth all the way to death. It never ends. And so what that looks like is broken down into 4 categories. You got self-knowledge, you got self-concept, you got self-esteem, and you got social self. Self-knowledge is gained from the parents, because the child is the perfect mixture of both the mother and the father. So when I understand the quality per se, what ends up happening now is we're devaluing, or what most people are tending to say these days is we're emasculating the father. And what you don't understand is that in the midst of doing that, you are damaging this child long term, because that child will spend a great amount of time trying to figure out that piece that is missing, because they never got that from the father. Why? Because that mother ended up spending so much time devaluing the father and not putting forth. Listen, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. A friend of mine, and this was probably about 7-8 years ago, a friend of mine literally put her son in the car and drove him about 5 hours to meet his father halfway. And in my mind, that was foreign to me. I was like, talk about awareness. I was never aware that this took place. For me, I got on the plane, I flew to Texas, I got a hotel, I got a rental car just to spend time with my kids. And here's the best part about it. I'm still paying child support the whole time. So all of this actually happens. It wasn't that we were working together to make it happen. I had to foot the whole deal. And here's the deal. If I couldn't make it, oh well, time lost. And that's what that looks like. So when we start talking about can men be, the answer is always yes when you ask those questions. Now, how do we get there? Is it solely dependent upon one parent? Well, no, it's not. Because here's what I do know. What parents need to do is be advocates of one another. So fathers need to be advocates of the mothers. Mothers need to be advocates of the fathers. Can you just imagine, just kind of go on a mental journey with me for a second. Can you imagine how many kids who understand that their parents are at odds? And generally, about 9 times out of 10, the children are with the mother. So can you imagine that child wanting to talk to their father, but feel like they have to hide to do so? Simply because they know of the rift that exists between both of the parents. So that's kind of like my point. If we don't advocate for one another, we don't give the child permission to have a healthy relationship with as the court system say, because I got to go back to that. That was the greatest statement I heard so far, Antoine. As the court system would call him, the non-custodial parent. We got to help that child we got to give that child permission based upon our behavior, not just words, based upon our behavior, to have a healthy relationship with their fathers. Why? Because that equates to that child's self-knowledge. When they have a better understanding of who they are, now that equates to their self-concept. Their self-concept is how they see the world. So now they can esteem themselves based upon that concept. So now this is how I express myself. And here's the best part about it. My self-knowledge will prevent me from assuming that the 5 of you were looking at me like I'm crazy, because that's what my social self is. Think about it. When you were growing up, how many of you were, and I'm asking the question, I already know the answer, but I'm asking anyway, right? How many of you have already at one particular point in time, you got on whatever, let's just say you had on a fresh pair of kicks, brand new Nikes, fresh out the box, you walking stiff because you don't want to put no creases in them, right? And you're thinking everybody looking at your shoes. Everybody's done it. But here's the best part about it. That works in reverse as well. Not so much about what you say, right? Not so much about what you wear, but how you present yourself. And you are concerned that as they're looking at me, how are they receiving me? And here's the best part about it. Adults still do that today based upon what happened way back here. So who defines quality in parents? That's my big question. And it's not for an answer. It's just a rhetorical question.
Yeah. I agree with everything you just said.
Yep.
and the final answer is going to be the quality of the product, which is you. So, when I was a teenager, my mom had remarried, and after a couple years, I'd had enough of my stepfather. So I called my dad up and basically, whatever. I talked him into coming and pick me up. So I ended up living with him through junior high and high school, but it was invaluable. Now he was doing his own thing, but he definitely taught me how to be independent and how to act like a man. Not just how to take care of the household, but how to take care of myself and how to act in the world and be a man and be accountable for everything I did, because he held me to whatever I did, as a man from day one. And so those are things I couldn't learn from my mother, but and she was living in DC, and I moved back here to Virginia, to Roanoke and everything. And but it was invaluable. It was invaluable. And he and I have a better relationship for it now, because he was in the streets for real in the streets. I'm not gonna speak on it too much, but now he's a pastor and everything. But and for the past 30 years, he and I have been like this. But at one point when I was ready to move away to college, he rented my room out just to prove a point, like don't come back type of thing, because he and I got into it, as young men will do. I had some valid reasons though, but anyway, long story short, there's mutual respect. I have young men now, 17 to 21. I'm proud of what they're doing, and my mother and my father, the way they raised me, and to today, helped me impart to them everything I could, and their mothers here in the household as well, of course. But it's just we've made a concerted effort, that she went through some things too in her life, that we weren't going to do the same things, and we're going to raise our young men a certain way, and that's what we did.
I like the fact that like sometimes a question can seem very generic, and you already know the answers to it, but like it's the way that it's explained that makes it understood why it's generic for some and it's eye-opening for others. So like when you started, we was talking about like what men should raise boys when the parents are not together. Is that what we're talking about right now? Or because it's kind of like bleeding all over the place.
Can men, pretty much, can men be quality parents?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So like quality parents, yes, short answer, like everybody else. I said I wrote down and I was like, man, if men can go out and win women's competitions, why not? Good nurturers, and I'm gonna come back to that joke in a second. And in terms of teaching, absolutely, it's a man's nature to teach other people around him, because the more you teach, the more your safety is ensured. You see what I'm saying? Like, men are always in close proximity to something that can kill us. Like, it is either work hazards, just chores, or whatever it is, depending on what type of man you are. You know what I'm saying?
Cutting the grass.
Yeah, because like if you're an adventurous spirit and you got, let's say, like if you got somebody, let's say if you got this guy that's an adrenaline junkie, and he grew up on BMX, skateboarding, rallycross, his chances are his children are going to be some adrenaline junkies, whether they, you know what I'm saying, boys or girls. Like, you ever heard of Scott Force, or John Force? He's the NHRA drag race guy. I think it's a top few guy. Like, all of his daughters drag race right behind him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know you're talking about
John Force and the Force daughters or whatever. Yeah, they a whole franchise.
Well, they beast mode.
Beast mode. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't even bring them up. Like,
who they drive for? One of them oils, I think.
I feel like it was Amsoil, Amsoil or something like that, or Pennzoil. Yeah. I might be wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I just
somebody in the comments are squares away.
Yeah, the Force family. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's a prime example of like when men raise children, I think it's generally based off of legacy moves. You see what I'm saying? So like if you got a guy that's capable and his name is tied to something, he'll give up, you know what I'm saying, all of the work to make sure his name is secured the right way. Like, another example of it being about the namesake is this: Lawrence Fishburne and his daughter.
Yeesh.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like, you gonna take my name and go out here and be a porn star?
Yeah, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And he done publicly disowned him. You don't hear that conversation no more. You know what I'm saying? Because of where he is with his daughter. You know, so sometimes the man's influence does not necessarily equate to the outcome that everybody wants to see. You know, I always look at it like this: we all have a perfect plan, and we all have perfect intention. Execution is where, you know what I'm saying, the proverbial hit in the mouth occurs, and then now you got to see how you're going to adjust, because honestly, I feel like children are probably the greatest risk that anybody could take, because you can do everything the right way and still raise a serial killer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, because everybody's bad day isn't equal. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the pilot says oops, that hits way different than a little kid dropping a sippy cup in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? What you mean the pilot said oops? At 30,000 feet. You see what I'm saying? Your little baby in the kitchen say oops. You know what I'm saying? It's just a sippy cup on the floor, and you got to get them out.
What do you think, Jay? Jill, you got little ones, right? You got any daughters or boys?
No, man. I'm just a boy factory over here. And
boy factory.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm getting a vasectomy in a couple of months. Like that's
congratulations.
How serious I am.
Congratulations.
These little crotch goblins is expensive.
Hey, hey, this boy over here. Did you just graduate from from ovulation?
Yeah.
He's good.
He's gonna move over to the shoot the club up team.
That's my problem. I was shooting the club up.
Yeah.
And I got two of them.
That brother is aware. Leave him alone. He's aware.
He's aware.
I'm aware.
Hey,
you know.
I appreciate your honesty, man.
Hey, man. I'm not trying to mismanage my penis.
I know that's right. I know that is right.
That boy can't pull out of a driveway.
And I'm cool with that.
So you know where you are. You got self-awareness.
Yeah, and that's why I'm taking gas out the tank.
There you go.
I'm not only a client.
But yeah, of course men can be quality parents and caregivers. But I think the thing that resonated the most with me is what Coach said. It's about it's perspective and looking at where someone comes from. And then even what Vic said, you know, when you have your name attached to somebody, like that's very powerful. Like I remember one of the first conversations we had, like with the first elevated arguments, is your name has power. You know, like my son is the fourth. No, that's a family name. I mean, when I found out I was first having him, my wife and I talked about, I was like, I don't care what we name the rest of our kids. I was like, but that first boy, he gonna have my father's name. And because, you know, my dad's a powerful man, my grandfather was a powerful man, and I see myself as a powerful man. And I'm trying to raise him and his younger brother to be powerful men. But as far as caregiving, like I'm in an interracial marriage. And, you know, I'm very candid about raising Black men. Like, yeah, they look a little pale faced when they come out and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the world's gonna see them as Black men. Like I know when they go out in the streets of Clayton, they're not seeing little, you know, it's like, oh, that's little Jay and Isaiah. No, those are two little Black boys. That's case in point. So if my wife and I always tell her, if I pass away, I was like, I need to have somebody that looks like me raising my sons to let them know what because it goes back to what Coach said. You know, there's a legacy there. There's some type of there's a lineage. And so as a caregiver, I'm raising these men, these young boys to experience what the world's like for me. That they're going to have oppression, that people are going to be intimidated. Like I'm 6'4", 270. Like when I walk into a room, people are like, I might call him James Harden, but he might slap the taste out of my mouth too. So, you know, it's about being aware. And so I'm raising them to be in touch with your emotions, to, you know, to voice your opinions. But at the same time, not everybody's going to like your opinion. Not everybody's going to appreciate your tan. And, you know, and I have conversations with their mom. Like she's been in grocery stores or a few stores a couple of times where people of color and non-color have coming up to her when she's been buying like ethnic products, like Black Panther t-shirts, and they voice their opinions with my sons in their presence and say, well, you shouldn't be buying that because you're a white woman. And I've told her, put me on the damn phone or put me on FaceTime, and I'll be glad to correct them because I'm about that life. And that's part of the caregiving experience, because I know even if we don't end up together forever, but she ain't gonna let me go. I'm tied to this lady for the rest of my life. But I know that it takes a partnership. It's about showing my sons that I respect their mom throughout all of it, because we're a united front. And it's not because our love for one another, it's our love for them. We're doing them a disservice if we're not a united front raising them. And as parents, that's part of the caregiving process. And like Antoine was saying, like, you don't think that a woman can raise a man. And I agree with that, because I can think back when my mom was home by herself, my dad was working shift work, and me and my brother were giving her hell. Her most dangerous thing is like, wait till your daddy get home, because King James brought the wrath. That's what it was. King James was a professional ass cutter. Straight up, he was Indiana Jones with a belt.
Yeah,
like,
the belt.
Yeah, it won't none of this talk.
Don't use the buckle side. Don't use the buckle side.
Boy,
Antoine having flashbacks.
Yeah, I'm having flashbacks too.
Yeah,
from
wake
my
you
mother
out of
though.
a deep sleep.
Oh boy,
you be laying in bed.
Yeah, my mother didn't play.
Yeah,
Neither did my dad either. But
they don't play.
yeah, no.
But that goes back to the united front thing. We have shared experiences in that, because our parents believed in that co-parenting. Like, even if they're not together now, we still have those memories. Like, yo, dad had mom's back and mom's had dad's back, and that's how it should be. And I think that's part of the caregiving experience. And so naturally, the easy question is, yes, men can be quality parents and caregivers, but there's about finding what's your path and how do you want to navigate those waters.
Exactly.
We just don't get enough. We just don't get enough praise and credit for it.
But that's part of the narrative, though.
I think that, and I'm glad you said that word narrative, because this is where, like, these conversations, put a stake into what the narrative should be. And like, I would say that maybe nurture and caretaker, maybe it should just be protector and provision, you know what I'm saying, and provider, as far as what men do. And I think that channels the language that men speak in most capacities, you know what I'm saying? Like, most men feel like they're going to be the most responsible person in a relationship in certain arenas, you know what I'm saying? Like, hands-on. There's just some things that we don't depend on women to come in and do, you know what I'm saying? Because it's things that we would do for ourselves anyway. They benefit everybody that we're connected to, no matter what. So when you start speaking from the protector capacity of this conversation, I think that encompasses nurture, caregiver, and everything else, because it's like, it's got to be in a tough love type of context, you know what I'm saying? In order for people to understand the language of men that have a certain experience in the world, because the world isn't kind. So we need to be speaking from a place of protection and provision. So words matter, definitions matter, context matters. So that's why, like, the right words have to be used in order for other people to understand. Like, that's language that you and I, all the men that's on this panel right here, that we agree with. But you got to look at it like from the audience of people that do not have leadership roles, that still have the same obligations as men with experience have, right? So they have to start hearing the troubleshooting conversations that produce dialogue like this. So they say, oh man, this conversation sounds familiar, or the situation I'm in is familiar to a conversation that I've heard before, and try to create these intellectual reference points so people can solve their own problems more creatively. And most of it is just coming out from patience, because, like, the truth of it all is that every time we work ourselves up to realizing that there's a problem, it's because we're going so fast and we're in the future with it. And then we reach a spot where we don't have the synchronization between time and experience actually produces, you know what I'm saying, a greater outcome, a greater solution. So we have to stop sometimes, you know what I'm saying, and sit back and let things come to us. And then I think that's where women come in and balance out the equation with their version of nurturing, you know what I'm saying? And because, like, when you're in a protect, provide, you're trying to avoid survival mode, so you kind of always dabble in survival mode as a man, you know what I'm saying? So I think the words matter.
Yep,
I agree with that.
Yeah, and like you said, it's about surrounding yourself with the right people to help raise that child and be a quality parent and caregiver, right? So it's a team, whether it be family, friends, or whatever, or what have you, to nurture that child and get them to where you need them to be, but be that role model at the same time, like you said, and that leader.
And one more thing to add, because I know you want to jump in and moderate again too, but like on the part where it says men can teach boys to be men, and of course the short answer that we all agree on is yes. And I think that it's important to distinguish what we're trying to create from why we're trying to create it. Okay, so everybody knows that the inherent responsibility is to raise and protect and provide, provision for these children. You know what I'm saying? But boys or girls, right? But like, we're not raising children; we're raising folks that's going to become major contributors to our society. So you're really just raising another functioning adult that is capable of contributing something positive to the world while they're here. So what and why? We got to start asking the 5 W's on every single thing. You know what I'm saying? Who, what, where, when, and why. Who are you in the process? Why are you obligating yourself to this process? What is your goal in this process? What is the goal of the person that you're responsible for? Why are you responsible for it? And making sure that they know what their why is also. So it's not, that's why I said this goes beyond nurturing. And I think that at some point you got to go from protector, provider to a mentor. And I think that that's what doesn't get discussed enough when it comes down to the transition of trying to take a child from being a nurtured, lap or arm baby into a functioning adult that can go out and fend for themselves.
Yeah, and I just want to say it's like most women can have babies, but let's be real, not all of them can be a parent. That's a different, okay? Because most can have babies. Not all of them are meant to. Not all of them can be a parent. Being a parent is very important. It's a job, right? So you can pump out a kid. Doesn't guarantee you to be a good
and not all parents can become mentors.
And not all parents can become mentors. That's why you have I believe in adoption. That's what I believe in it. And I believe any man can offer those kids that are lost. I believe any kid can be turned around, with the right help. But the people to assume, you give birth, all of a sudden you're going to be a great parent. Why? What? Like what determines that?
False.
You know what I mean? Just because you pushed it out?
Well, I'll say this, Antoine. We'll kind of segue into the next question.